Anthony for three.
I think we see Willis coming out. Won the NBA championship.
Have the first pick in the 1985 NBA college draft.
Season ends the hands of the Chicago Bulls.
Miller is tied the game. Still, the Spurs are your world champions.
New York Knicks select Kristaps Porzingis.
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine.
Welcome to the MadGood Knicks Show. I'm Far, that's T, Steph, Pete, and Jay. We're here to give you all Knicks news all damn time. Check us out on Instagram at MadGood Knicks Show. This is the draft special, guys. We're here to talk all things Frank and the other guys that we signed and drafted. It's gonna be one hell of an episode. You will not want to miss this one. Anything else going on?
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because I received a breaking news notification.
Was that the 3 a.m. one?
Yeah, you know, and I woke up on my
What
bed.
the hell could be breaking news of the Knicks at 3 a.m.?
I don't know. Pete was texting
anything?
the fuck out of me this morning.
I don't know. It's like,
Pete, what were you saying?
You know when they say like when the phone rings at 3 a.m., who do you want to be in office to pick it up? I think we're.
That's what it
I'd
is.
say
That's
so.
what it is. True.
The New York Knicks fired Phil Jackson!
Woo! Now wait, did the New York Knicks fire Phil Jackson or did James Dolan fire Phil Jackson?
Jimmer,
The Big D.
The Big D.
the musician.
The Big Debowski.
He did fire him, and I guess it was finally, you know, that's that. So we did film this episode 2 days prior to the firing of Phil Jackson. Welcome to the MadGood Knicks Show. I'm Far. That's Steph.
That is.
Pete. Jay.
This is why I do the introduction. Steph, this is why. This is exactly why.
We
got here?
need a guest point guard that can distribute the names. That's 7 foot. No, I'm kidding.
We didn't notice it was going to be a national Knicks holiday 2 days prior, but we came back and did this and our clothes and a special segment just for you guys. So it's a little bit of draft talk mixed in. We got to address this Phil Jackson nonsense. Guys.
I didn't see this coming.
Guys. Quickly, just one word. Happy, sad, indifferent.
Let's go around.
Steph?
I'm very content,
Okay.
yet scared.
Multiple.
Excited.
Yo.
Conflicted.
Ah.
Damn, good one.
Happy.
Next.
You guys used all the good ones. Tepid.
Okay, all right, Mr.
For those
Union.
fans who don't know what tepid means,
We got the definition
below.
right here.
Right here.
It's going to be a hell of a show. First things first, though, we got to talk Phil Jackson. Let's take it to that first segment before we hit all that draft talk.
Number uno, never let no one know how much dough you.
For those of you who are unaware, James Dolan fired Phil Jackson. Woo!
Yeah, he did.
By Felicia, right? Was that it? By Felicia?
He's still Philip to me.
Is he now?
Yeah.
It would be completely unfair if we didn't spend maybe 20 minutes on this topic.
We're probably going to cut that in half and spend time.
Yeah, you'll only see about 10 minutes
Closer
of
to
it.
8.
Yo, guys, let's discuss, because we've been itching for James Dolan to make a
We
move
have.
for a
That's
long
true.
time.
Yeah.
Mr.
right.
Big Balls himself, man.
Would you guys
Kudos
consider-
to you, James Dolan, because I haven't seen him make a solid move like this since he hired Phil Jackson.
It's sad that, yeah, the move that we've been itching for him to make is a firing of
No
Phil
one can
Jackson.
predict this, you know?
He should be under the big baller brand. That's how balling he is.
It's the second best firing he could have enacted besides himself.
But there you go.
resigning From the
Yeah.
So
I mean,
with that being said, Pete, do you think you would consider him a hero? Is he a guy that we could look to
I
now?
feel like it's more like a broken clock is right twice a day kind of thing. He just so happened to make the right move, and I think for 2 reasons. One, this is like a monetary decision.
Gotcha.
Because he's blowing money on Joakim Noah, and he was going to blow money on Carmelo now through Phil Jackson. Plus, he paid Phil Jackson $60 million. I think the math started adding up not in
I
his
don't
favor.
think so. So you don't think he turned a new leaf?
In combination with like the I think fan pressure, I think that was doing it. But
Gotcha.
as far as him making a basketball decision, I don't think that's what really happened.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think it was a huge political move. I think it was a huge political move on his part. I mean, the whole Charles Oakley thing is under the rug right now as we speak.
What
But-
Charles Oakley thing?
Yeah, what happened?
He fired Phil, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, dude, come on, man. But no, overall, I'm very content with the decision. I am worried about the instability this may cause because, you know,
I mean,
the
how
team
much
has
more
no identity.
unstable can it get?
That's very true. But just the team
The
doesn't
famous
have a face
last
right now.
words of a Knicks fan. How much worse can it get?
Right,
Yeah,
you
that's
might
very,
find
very
out.
true. Overall, I'm very happy because the triangle offense is out of the fucking window. Am I right, guys?
Yeah,
Come on, let's
finally.
dive in.
Woo!
Triangle is
Dead
out
and
the
buried.
motherfucking
At least
window.
as a primary offense.
That's
yeah.
true.
Right.
Yeah, bro.
Jay, you, Mr.
I mean,
Pessimistic
for me,
Patty, the new title here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just conflicted with this because it's just like, in a way, where does it leave us? We just drafted someone that was supposed to fit the system, and that's
Yeah.
what everybody, raved about. Obviously his potential and how he would fit the system. Now all you have to go off is potential. As well, to me, he's very much the villain. Dolan is the villain. If he's so much of a villain, he's like a mastermind James Bond villain. He made this little thing of hiring Phil, and
I don't think there was any I really think he was trying to get out of the jam that he was in with Knick fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
just
dude,
making
it's
that
like-
hire. I don't think he had some sort of conspiracy theory here about.
But this
like,
is almost, and I hate to get into real life because this should be just Knicks talk.
Knicks talk is in real life.
Real life.
How
I want to talk about
dare
right
you?
now.
No, but it's almost
It's
a
a
little
Jay
bit,
analogy.
It's
I gotta hear
almost
it.
a little bit like Trump. You say certain things where it's so low that when you finally say something decent, it seems
You get
presidential.
praised
That's
for
true.
it.
Hold
That's
on,
true.
guys. Let me talk to my imaginary Knick fans. Yes, guys, this is real life. Don't worry.
It's not the Twilight Zone.
It's not the
Yeah,
Twilight Zone.
So enough about that. Our favorite fat musician. Can we talk a little bit about the coaching staff and Hornacek and basically all the crap that Phil Jackson left behind during this breakup?
It's funny you mention that, man, because Phil Jackson, his breakup. God, oh my goodness.
He's a what?
Here's the thing. No, he was talking about Phil Jackson, his breakup. But here's the thing. I think Dolan came in too little too late. You
Yes.
know? And it's unfortunate because
After the draft.
Well, you gotta look at the other
Right.
side of the coin. It would have been like Armageddon, and then he comes in versus now.
you're right. And the analogy I would like to use here, yes, Knick fans, this is real life. The analogy I would like to use here is, you have the big hero in an epic love story, right? And his princess, his queen, is trapped in a dungeon, and there's a bunch of killers around, or dragons, or whatever you have you, right?
Bowsers.
And Dolan came running in to save the day, slayed all the dragons, but his queen was dead. It's like, what the hell's the point? You came in
He
too
saved
late,
the rest
too
of the
late.
village, though.
The rest of the
Queen
village is
dead,
there,
who
but his
cares?
queen's
Right,
dead.
everybody
The
else
village
is
was
there.
alright. The
You know
village
what?
was alright.
And in this case, the queen was probably Dennis Smith Jr.
Let's not talk about
that
it.
Let's
one
not-
hurts,
or
right? So, all
Frank.
right, what I do want to know,
Depending on
though,
how healthy
is
he is.
what is going to be the deal with Hornacek? Do you guys think it's a good move to keep him or not?
Clean house.
I say keep him.
For now, I guess.
I'm divided
but
because
clean house.
it sort of depends on how the players are going to see him. Like if he was, it was obvious that he was following Phil's sort of vision for the team with the triangle
Well,
and
he
stuff.
had no choice.
And now he's kind of going to revert back to his style. But will he demand the respect, and will he have the credibility to move forward as a coach, considering that he's sort of like at the
You have to earn
he was
that.
at the whim of someone else this whole
But
time.
earn that.
It's true, but what sucks to me is like if we get another coach, it seems like I feel like the player. Anytime a new player comes in, he should come into a system that
That's
exists.
KP's fourth coach in
Yeah,
3
but with
years.
the Knicks, it's always like
House,
the
right?
system. A new system comes with and greets the players when really the players should be greeting the system.
But this won't entirely be a new system, I feel like. You know what I mean?
It won't be.
I mean,
And it'll be a
Much
familiar
more pick and
voice.
roll and
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
familiar voice. And
Exactly.
there's a lot of positives because I think like Hornacek has his accolades. He was
does.
almost coach of the year.
Yeah.
He turned around the Suns, made something out of nothing. He could
Don't-
potentially do that here.
The only way I say fire Hornacek is if you have a bona fide head coach waiting in
Jeff
line.
Van Gundy, Mark
Or
Jackson.
Mark Jackson, yeah. You
I-
can't just call up anybody.
And get rid of Kurt Rambis for the love of God.
for
I do
the
not
love
want to
of
see
God,
his
what
face
is he
in
doing
Madison
there?
Square Garden ever again, even if he works for another team. Do not allow this man back
I
into
don't
the
think he
building.
wants to be there anyway.
All right, now let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart and a handful of other Knicks fans, and that is
Bang!
Carmelo Anthony. Talks about him being bought out, talks about James Dolan not wanting that, now talks about Knicks wanting to trade him either way, just to really start over. Let me give my first take on this, and that is Kristaps Porzingis. I said this probably episode 1 or 2. He's still a child. He's got a boy's body. He doesn't have a man's body. He really doesn't. And Carmelo being there, a scorer like Melo being there, even if it's for the next 2 years, we're not winning a chip in the next 2 years. Keeping Melo there is only gonna help Kristaps develop. I personally don't want him to go.
Do you think Carmelo, if he stays with the Knicks, do you think he'd be willing to be a second or third option if we bring another franchise player?
Absolutely.
Do you think he'd be willing to do that?
To win?
Yes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You gotta understand.
You want to talk about another
He's
franchise
gonna be
player?
that in Houston.
Well, okay, before we get into that. All right. So James Dolan, unfortunately, it seems like he reacted based on what Carmelo's camp suggested a buyout, right? Reaching a buyout.
Right.
Okay, well, earlier reports had suggested, when the offseason just began, that Chris Paul would have considered the Knicks in free agency had Phil Jackson not disrespected his boy, Carmelo Anthony, right? All right, well, Melo reached out to Dolan in hopes of a buyout because Chris Paul already knew he had a deal in place with the Houston Rockets.
Yep.
So seeing as though Melo could get a buyout, he may be able to finagle his way to the Houston Rockets to play with CP3.
That's a very
Isn't that
good point.
unfortunate? This is New York. I will personally, I love basketball, I love winning, and I love the Knicks, but I'm not going to tolerate purposely tanking, bro.
Yeah, I can't.
That's
I can't
a
deal with that.
joke.
I don't think players
okay,
are
so,
weird.
so let's go ahead, keep Melo, be mediocre. Whether we're not obviously hitting the playoffs, but we're not terrible, nor at the
But
bottom.
you're
of the
making
season
your
anyways.
assumption not based off of what has actually happened. That is, unfortunately, the Knicks can still be a bad team with Carmelo Anthony if we don't have the right system, point guard, etc. in place. I don't want to make
But not
excuses.
bad enough.
I'm not finished with my
We
point.
need
I'm not
that.
finished with my point, though.
Go ahead.
If Carmelo Anthony stays on the Knicks for 2 more years where KP can get his frame and body into the prime mode that we know that he's capable of doing, that's not going to hurt KP. It's only going to help him. If KP is the only man here, he's going to get hurt. His body can't even handle 60 games right now thanks to Carmelo Anthony attracting every defense that they play.
How old is
So
KP?
Kristaps
21,
Porzingis'
22?
development depends on this. He's
All right,
22
so let's
right
just
now.
base it
if
only
you
on
get another
Porzingis
player?
and
As a 22-year-old player, he's not ready to be the face of this franchise.
Well-
And I don't mean that from a maturity standpoint. I'm talking about straight physical.
Yes.
guard one asset with this one guy that's going to hold us back from gathering other assets down the road. Think further, bro.
I am
don't-
thinking further.
I really don't see how keeping at least Melo at least one more season.
How it hurts.
Well, yeah, how does that hurt us?
At all.
Fine, give him one more season.
The number 4, which is the natural position for both KP and Carmelo, they butt heads on that. Like Carmelo can't play the 3 and KP can't play the 5. I would love to see KP naturally at the 4 and us to get a decent 3 instead of Carmelo. I don't know if that's possible.
Look, I'm on board with
I
that,
don't know
but
if
I
that's
don't
possible.
want to give up a player like Carmelo Anthony for nothing.
Me
Here's
neither.
the
No, that's
thing.
my point. But
Well,
like,
like,
how
what do
are
you
they
think
going to
At the, end
coexist
of
in
the
that
day,
4
at the
spot?
end of the day, though,
How are they going to
I'm
coexist
still a
in that
little
4 spot?
confused because
Lou Amundsen would be considered nothing. What we gave JR and Shumpert up for would be considered nothing.
That's true.
But would you take a second-round pick?
1 second round
No,
pick?
bro, not literally one, but like multiple
No.
packages of like picks.
Picks,
Yeah,
absolutely.
first rounds,
but
yeah.
you know what? That's probably not going to happen. If we
I'm
find a team that can do that, great.
I'm still pretty confused because word on the street yesterday was that coming from his wife, former wife, separated, whatever you want to call it, that Carmelo wants to stay close to home, close to his son.
She's
right?
not moving.
Oh, home is
And
where the
then
heart is.
today, we get reports that, Melo is still adamant about a buyout. The Knicks are looking to trade him. What's going on, Mel? Do you want to be here or do you want to go?
Time out though.
I think we need to hear from him again.
This is a little petty. You don't really take Lala's word. She never knew what was going on.
All right, well, I'm on Team Melo all the way, all day, every day.
I just wish he was more transparent. I
That's-
wish we knew what he was thinking. Man.
That's what I'm saying.
I wish
wanna
this
know
whole
what he's
organization was more transparent, but that's what the Mad Good Knicks Show is for.
We're
to get the
transparent.
transparency.
Yeah, and emotional responses.
That is
Guess
where the
what,
Mad Good
fans?
transparency
See
of the
you,
Knicks
baby.
Show.
This is real life.
Is this real life?
Thanks for tuning in, guys. So that's going to cut it for this discussion, but we got a lot more coming up on Frank, the draft, and all that good
Yeah.
stuff.
And let us know what you guys think. Come on, man.
No, I don't want to know.
Come on,
I do.
throw it my way, man. Bun here.
Who cares what y'all think?
Shoot.
Number 2, never let them know your next move. Don't you know bad boys move in silence and violence? Take it from your highness. I done squeeze mad clips at these cats for
What's going on, guys? We're back. We didn't leave you hanging. We told you last episode we'll be back to discuss Frank Ntilikina. And guess what? Here we are, and we brought Man Bun. You know, the biggest Frank lover. Psych. Just kidding. But we're here to discuss Frank Ntilikina and why he was the right prospect to choose for the Knicks.
Was he the right choice?
Yeah, man. Come
So
on, that's why we here.
So to lay out the landscape for you guys, we had the 8th overall pick, and who did we have left on the board? We have Frank, we had Dennis Smith, we had Malik Monk, and those are really the main guys that the Knicks were looking at. Luke Kennard was in there and whatnot. Thankfully, Lowry, Markkanen was already off the board.
Hold it together.
Whew. Let's talk about Frank for a second. Jay,
yeah,
you have your quarrels here. We've spent all episode long talking about the good that Frank has brought, including his potential upside, his defense, his ability to adapt to the triangle, his 2 years of experience. What do you got? What do you got? Because I know you're not all for this, along with a lot of our fans. We don't want to leave you guys hanging either. So here's your cheerleader.
Look. A lot of the fans enjoyed the pick. For months, the Knicks have been training you. This is who we're going to take. You have been trained.
Uh-oh.
You like because you've been told this is what we're going to select. Everyone out there, for the most part, has been very critical of our selection of Frank. I mean, Kenyon Martin, we have Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith.
Give me a 30-second time.
Kenyon Martin.
While we're at Kenyon Martin, please, somebody call Ja. I gotta know what Ja thinks about this.
I have to know.
We got Ja Rule on the phone. Let's see what Ja's thoughts are on this tragedy. Who gives a fuck what Ja Rule thinks at a time like this?
I'm just saying, all right? There's been more than multiple people. I'm talking about a former player.
Oh my God!
I want some answers that Ja Rule might not have right now.
Two people one especially that's just a Knick for life, and Stephen A. And he just called out Phil on his BS. He was like, you're telling me you won't take a road trip somewhere, but you've been in France. In France. I'm just saying there were other people. Well, hold on. Because with Frank, the thing that everyone's going off of is what? Potential.
Yeah.
Greg Oden still got potential. He just can't stay on the fucking court.
That wasn't necessarily
That's all
potential
it is.
like Greg Oden. That was almost a sure thing.
And also, another thing we grade Frank so highly on, it has nothing to do with how he plays. It's the fact that we didn't trade KP. So we did okay with the draft because we didn't trade KP. Fuck out of here.
I want to talk about Frank himself, though.
Okay, so Frank himself.
Let's compare him to the other options, okay? So Dennis Smith through the legs, behind the bag, upside down dunk that he had. Exciting.
New York.
Absolutely exciting.
Exciting.
Sexy. Because that succeeded a lot in New York, right?
Steve Frazier.
Yeah!
Name one.
Nate Robinson? As a dunker, just brought a show. Like, it was fun to watch.
How many games did we win?
You were still an avid Knick fan. You were still an avid Knick fan.
Even when they were 17 and a million, I was still an avid Knick fan.
The reason that Dennis Smith wouldn't necessarily look, he's a fantastic player. I would be ecstatic to have him on the Knicks, but the reason that he doesn't fit in with what the Knicks want to improve on, and that is defense. Offense was not the problem for New York Knicks. It was defense. That's where it all started. Everyone got fast break buckets out the ass with the Knicks because they could not play defense. They could not stop the ball, and they couldn't really have a
We couldn't play defense, but our offense wasn't that good either. Our offense became good, especially when our second unit came in. That's when we played the triangle. As far as I'm concerned, when we had our starting unit, the ball stopped with Melo. And if not, it was not KP, I apologize, Derrick Rose trying to bail us out. Now, if we didn't have Derrick Rose to bail us out in a lot of situations, who do we have now? We have Frank. Frank is not a shot creator.
Dennis Smith Jr. would be there to bail us out like Derrick Rose. Is that what you're saying?
My brother.
Potentially.
And so we would end up with another lottery pick next year.
Yes,
we're going to end up with another lottery pick regardless.
Sure. Listen.
What?
Frank may not be a shot creator, but he can help create other shots for other players. That's one. And something you failed to touch on, right? I just want to jab you up one time because you're really crushing my spirits here with this. I was excited for this, right?
Yeah.
This is one thing Frank brings to the table that we suffered throughout the whole season watching poor-ass Derrick Rose try to play defense. That was not working. Defense is something that you cannot teach. Length and height is something that you cannot teach. Frank has the will and the want to play defense here in New York. One of his first interviews, he said, listen, I love playing defense. I want to come to the Garden and play defense. When have you ever heard Derrick Rose say, you know what, for today's game, I think I need to finally move my feet and play defense? Never.
So one thing that you are also not mentioning here, and I think this is overseen by a lot of people, including those who are making those judgments about European players coming here to play, yes, they have a history of being busts. However, in the last year, 2 years, that's not so much the case. European players have found success here and there. One of the things about Frank is that this kid has already played with grown men, not college players. So yes,
and he's shook out there, and he's shook in France. You acting like the NBA ain't gonna shake him up more?
Shook in what way?
He's nervous. He makes some silly plays out there at times. Of course, due to his age, due to the inexperience, due to the age.
I've heard a lot, especially from Fran Fraschilla, who lost me the other day. 69% bust potential, whatever. He said that Frank is a no mistake type of player.
High IQ for the game.
He doesn't turn the ball over much. He doesn't take bad shots. So
but never say never. I mean, just because Fran said he's a no mistake player means in his 2-year career he's never made a mistake.
But you hear this far? He's saying never say never as if the potential is there for Frank to fail. I don't understand that. The potential for Malik Monk, who's an undersized 2 guard, is there to fail. Dennis Smith Jr. granted his
already blew his leg, But in general, though, is it not usually the person that's the shortest that's the loudest or something of that sort? Like, you have more to prove? Like, certain things come to Frank.
Yeah, all this is just what if, potential.
I want to wrap this up, though.
This will just go. I'm just saying, this is a guy with slow release. The year before, he has, 40% at the half court shooting right now. The year before, he was 18%. He managed to improve that significantly. The work ethic is there. I'm just saying, I don't think the potential that everyone talks about is as high as everyone is preaching.
From the three-point line in the EuroLeague, Frank shot 41.3% at 18 years old. I will also take that.
Yeah.
In the what?
The EuroLeague.
Yeah. The 3-4 games that he played? The FIBA under 18?
No. His whole career in the EuroLeague.
The one where he averaged 5.7 points per game because he only played 19 minutes? Of course, because it's a different
playing with grown men, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's not playing with college kids.
All right, it's clear, guys, on the MadGood Knicks Show, this conversation will not end on tonight's segment.
Yeah, that scissor stabbed this man.
let me actually get rid of these because we don't want any problems. But guys, we brought it to you. Hopefully that clarifies some of the questions that you guys had for us.
Or maybe they added more.
Maybe.
You know where he stands. You know where I stand. Guys, let's have a great season.
Mwah.
Kiss and makeup.
Number 3, never trust nobody. Your mama set that ass up, properly gassed up, hoodie the masked up. For that fast buck, she be laying in the bushes.
Hey guys, it's been a while since we've had an analytical breakdown. Obviously with the draft, 8th pick, Frank Ntilikina. There's been emotions running high. A lot of people aren't happy with the choice. Some people are happy with the choice. But we wanted to take a more objective view and just do an analytical breakdown to see by the numbers if that was the right choice, if that person could fit in and help us out in the categories that we need most help in. So let's jump right into it. There are only a few stats where the Knicks ranked in the top 10. Those include rebounding, particularly offensive rebounding, where we're 3rd, which is impressive, and blocks, which we can thank KP for. But pretty much everything else is bottom of the barrel across the board. Now it's easy to say, yeah, the Knicks offense and defense suck, but we wanted to take more of a nuanced approach to see really specifically where we need improvements. So let's get right into it. I mean, it's very offensive heavy on the rankings, right? We've got obviously we're 19th in assists. We know we don't move the ball. We're 19th in points. Things like fast break points, we're 24th. There's a lot there to draw from, but I think it gets a little bit deeper.
Absolutely. Like my bro was saying, a lot of the offensive rankings are in the low 50 percentile. We're one of the worst in the NBA in a lot of offensive categories. Now, if you look at it from the surface, you might think, all right, we definitely need a player like Dennis Smith Jr. We need a player like Malik Monk, an offensive player to come in and pick up those stats, right? But when you look a little deeper and you think about it, I mean, who do we have on the squad this year? We had Derrick Rose, an offensive-minded point guard who's very athletic. We have Courtney Lee, who at one point was the #1 three-point percentage in the NBA. We have Carmelo, we don't need to talk about his offensive prowess. KP, the unicorn, and Joakim Noah, let's not talk about. So there's 4 out of the 5 starters on the Knicks that were offensive players, and they weren't able to pick up these offensive stats. And so we think there's more of an underlying issue here as to why these offensive players weren't able to capitalize on their talent. And that is the reason why we selected Frank Ntilikina, and he's going to go deeper into why.
Yeah, again, if you look at these statistical rankings of where we really suck, they're mostly offensive stats, but if you look closer, in there are sprinkled some critical defensive stats. For example, steals. We're 23rd in the NBA and also 24th in fast break points. See, those things are related because, for example, Golden State is first in both categories. You can't get on the break unless you're playing defense. Other things like turnovers, where we're 17th. We don't take care of the ball. 21st in three-point attempts. Now, we're just as bad at three-point percentage, but if you're not getting the attempts, that means you're not getting the floor spacing, you're not getting open shots, and we see that reflected in the terrible field goal percentage, of which we rank 23 in the league. I mean, I could go on. Something like fouls drawn, that's more about team organization, guys being in the right position at the right time, and something like fouls too. We commit a lot of fouls, and that's because we're out of place defensively. Now, if you wanted to get one offensive player to sort of improve all these stats, it's impossible. But if there is one type of player that can make everyone better, it's a pass-first point guard. And that's why we think Ntilikina at the end of the day is a pretty good choice. I mean, he's got the physical tools. He's 6'5",
7-foot wingspan. He's a great defender, someone that can play with the pick and rolls. He has a wired frame. Now, this is a guy that can be utilized on the front line playing defense. We didn't have it this year. We had an athletic point guard. We had a Derrick Rose that couldn't make players around him better, but that could yam it. This guy's a proven MVP player, and he still wasn't able to capitalize for us. Granted, he was injured, but still, something along those lines. But having a much taller point guard with a wider wingspan, it's going to stall the offense of the opposing players. I mean, we're talking championship here, right? This is the whole point of the New York Knicks. This is why we're fans. We want that ring. We're going to be going up against guys like Stephen Curry, Kyrie Irving, the Russell Westbrooks, the Chris Pauls, and do we need another offensive player that can play with these guys, or do we need someone that can potentially stop these players? Because, you know what I mean? Like, it's adding offense against offense won't work. It's the defense. You got to think strategically at this point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Again, if it was one or two things where we needed some help, we needed better three-point shooting, better defense, I'd understand a more narrow-focused player. But again, the Knicks struggle to get people to play to their potential all around. And getting a player like Ntilikina, which by all accounts is a kind of guy who wants to involve everybody. He's got great work ethic. He's a defensive stopper, and it's just the sort of thing that I think we could plug into our offense and get everyone involved and get all these categories to move ahead. Because you're not going to get one guy to fix all this stuff. It's an organizational issue. It's a team play issue. And to feed off it, someone like Dennis Smith Jr., we see him dunking like crazy on Instagram and doing his thing. But at the end of the day, some of his effort on defense has been suspect in the past. He is only about 6 feet, even though he's listed at 6'3", so he's a smaller point guard. And again, an athletic, short point guard that is more about creating points and opportunities isn't what we need right now. The stats point to issues with ball movement, ball placing, getting guys open shots, getting guys clean shots, and even Malik Monk.
I mean, I was going to go back to the Frank Ntilikina. This guy's been playing in the pro league against adults, you know what I mean? So this guy's playing against paid professional athletes, guys that are much older than him, much more experienced than him. And since Phil does see him fitting in a triangle, I think that if a player can fit and thrive in a triangle, he can thrive in any type of offense. He's a unicorn type physical attribute type player. He's 7-foot wingspan. The guy's 6'5", taller than any point guard in the league basically is 6'5". That's as tall as it does get. So if this guy can see over the offense, he can pass the ball, he can run the triangle, him and Unicorn can, you know, come together and make a lot of things happen.
Yeah, and again, to touch back on Malik Monk, he wasn't known as a ball-dominant point guard. He does create, he scores off quick opportunities, not someone that could really run an offense, and again, not much of an assist man. So knowing that we have so many of these statistical categories to improve, we really think that a pass-first point guard like Ntilikina, based on the stats, would probably be a better fit in the long term. And I mean, that's pretty much it.
Those are our 2 cents.
Yeah. Obviously, in the future, we gotta address the big man situation with Noah. I think that's the next move in improving this team. But right now, as far as the stats go, I think a player like Frank is probably the best choice.
I wouldn't pass up on a guy like that.
What's up, guys? This is your boy TK, aka John Legend, as you guys know. I want to thank you guys for watching, and please make sure you do subscribe. And if you like what you saw from previous episodes, or if you just like our faces, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. But wait, please hit that like, comment, and share as well. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.